We continue to preview the 2025 college volleyball season. Our stop today is Sarasota, Florida, as we get to visit with the new head coach for the mighty Banyans of New College of Florida, Coach David McFatrich. Coach, thank you first off for taking some time with us today. We really appreciate that. And you were announced on March 4th. I mean, it's been 2.5 weeks basically since you've been announced as the new head coach. Tell us a little bit about taking the lead position for the mighty Banyans.
Well, it really is a miraculous story. I came down here a year and a half ago and started a beach volleyball ministry, actually called Beach Volley del Sol, SOUL. So I'm a longtime beach volleyball player and beach volleyball coach, and a longtime indoor volleyball player and indoor volleyball coach. And I came in and started that ministry. And after about a year and a half, just literally 6 weeks ago, maybe, my wife and I, we were talking about going back into the indoor game, and I started reaching out to some NCAA Division I schools. I spent my career at the D1 level, and my wife just 6 Mondays ago, Joey, she said, "Do you want to know what I think?" 9:00 on a Monday night, and I said, "Of course I do." And she said, "I think God wants us here."
Wow.
And I said, okay. And so right then and there, our son is here. Our youngest daughter is a student at Florida Gulf Coast. And our middle daughter, who played for me at Charleston Southern and is helping me coach now, she's here. And my wife said, "I think God wants us here." And my wife is a TD Jakes fan. And she goes, I was listening to a sermon from TD Jakes, and he talked about if God, the Exodus and running around Egypt, and if God takes you back to where you were, and we were here 6 years ago for a brief period of time, he probably has something for you in store there. And I looked at my wife and I said, "You know what? Us staying here is more important than satisfying my ego and going back to Division I." And I had applied to schools and had talked to some coaches and talked to some ADs. The next day, out of the blue, Joey, I get a call. The very next day, less than 12 hours later. I usually don't answer my phone call if I don't recognize who it's from.
Yeah.
And but at this point in time, the Holy Spirit was kind of prompting me to hit the redial button. So I hit the redial button. And a lady on the other line, at the other end, she said, "Coach McFatrich, you're going to think this is crazy." And I said, "Okay, who is this and what's crazy?" And she said, "I have an associate that's looking for an athletic director who's looking for a coach." And I went to a prayer meeting this morning, and I saw a lady with a volleyball shirt on, and he was looking for a particular coach. She goes, I asked this lady if she knew of anybody that fit the description. And so she's telling me this story. She goes, "Yes, I do. His name's David McFatrich, and he lives in the area." and the lady says, "David McFatrich, I know him." And so she's telling me this, and she goes, "Coach, I played against you 12 years ago. I was at Stephen F. Austin. You were at Central Arkansas, and you beat us in the conference tournament and then ended up winning the tournament, going to the NCAA tournament." And I said, "I remember that because we were lucky enough to beat you guys 3 times that year. And a team like Stephen F. Austin with a great coach, it's hard to do that." And it was hard that day. It was 16-14 in the 5th game. And she goes, "Our coach got a picture of you celebrating after that match. She blew it up into a poster size. She hung it in our locker room, and I had to look at your face every day for a year." And I'm like, "I'm sorry about that." And she goes, "Here's the situation. This is the job opening. This is the location. Are you interested in it?" And I said, "Absolutely, I am." And that happened literally 12 hours after I told my wife, our kids and being around our kids and making sure their walk with the Lord is the number one thing is bigger than my ego. A week later, I had the job.
That's fantastic story, and I love it. Just right out of the gate, Coach. We're getting some good word here, and I appreciate that. And I have to tell you, in studying, your path to get to New College of Florida, I was curious. I mean, you coached on the Division I level. This is
Yeah.
a program that is relatively new to the NAIA, and
Yes.
so I appreciate your perspective in that, and how God took you and put you at this point at this time too. And I'm sure
Yes.
there's something as time goes on, you'll learn more about the timing of it all too. So that's going to be a fun journey to get to be a part of, I'm sure. Well, Coach, tell me a little bit then. What do you know about the program that you've taken over?
Well, the university itself has been around for 60 years, but the athletic program just started about a year and a half ago. There's a fantastic athletic director here. He's really sharp. His name's Mariano Jimenez, and they've added 16 sports in less than 2 years. And the aspirations for this university are fantastic. I mean, there's a desire and a goal by a lot of people to go D1 within a few years. And so that's pretty, and there's an incredible amount of potential. It's a beautiful campus. It's right on the Sarasota Bay. It's growing in scale, even though with properties surrounding it that are kind of coming underneath the New College umbrella, which is fantastic. And of course, the sports are growing. The athletic department is growing. Professors on campus are growing. They've got an incredible vision here with great leadership. And boy, that's what you want in a growth phase like this. And so that's kind of it in a nutshell of what I know about it. I know the plans are big. The aspirations are big. The goals are big. Just an hour or two ago, Tom Homan and Governor DeSantis were here on campus.
Wow.
And so it's, and it is. I did spend 15 years as a Division I coach, but all I know right now is this is where the Lord wants me to be. And I'm very, very thankful for that, and thankful for my wife's, insight into that, and just the way that the Lord worked in no time for us to be able to stay here and be near our kids is really, really important to me. It's a huge blessing for me to be here and to be the head coach here. It's a big blessing for me and my family. I'm very grateful.
We're visiting now with David McFatrich, who is the lead man now for the New College of Florida Mighty Banyans here on Midwest Sports Net. And I encourage you, please take the time, like the video, and subscribe to the channel. We like talking about small college sports and more throughout the Midwest and beyond. Coach, as you're there, and again, well documented at this point on this video for sure. Hadn't been there very long. They have played and you have at least one season in the books. So
Yes.
coming in March, you've missed the main recruiting window, and I'm sure that you're still recruiting even as you speak right now. Tell us a little bit about the roster as it is. Are there players staying now with the new coach coming in? Have you been able to bring some other players in?
Yes, it's an interesting something I'm not used to, Joey. There's actually a larger roster here. There's actually a varsity and what they term a varsity team, and then a varsity reserve team. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of people that want to play here, and I know of nobody wanting to leave. We actually have started practices, and we've had 5 practices. We also have a beach program, which with 6 beautiful white sand beaches right on the Sarasota Bay, just about 100 yards that away. And so a lot of the players are hybrid players. So a lot of the indoor players are playing beach. So I started practices, and I've had up to 10 players, but we have, for the most part, about 8 players that are that can come every practice. And so those are the indoor only players. I think there's 8 or 9 that are hybrid players. We'll get them after the beach season, but we're pulling for our beach team. We want them to go as long as possible. So, so that in and of itself is something new for me, to knowing that I'll have to manage more of those people. But I think it's a great opportunity for some people who can play on the junior varsity or the varsity reserve team as a student athlete, and for some of those on the varsity team that can play and compete at a higher level on the varsity team. So everybody is returning. There is a chance, and a couple of people have graduated, but we're kind of crossing our fingers, to be honest with you, Joey, that couple of our middle blockers, that they passed that rule where JUCO players would have another year of eligibility. We're thin from a roster standpoint, at the middle hitter position, and we're hoping that that rule trickles down to us, or not trickles down, trickles maybe up to us, so we get to keep those some of those players for one more year.
I know that you bring a wealth of coaching experience, and you were talking about Central Arkansas Division I program, Mississippi State, by the way, and you also mentioned Charleston Southern too. In seeing that, have you ever been in a situation like this before? And it sounds like from what you're talking about, it's a relatively new thing to be able to have this kind of, say, to develop a program. What do you see as a key to putting culture in place, or keys to putting culture in place to develop it the right way?
Well, for me, the biggest thing is, and I have so many friends, Joey, coaching college volleyball at all different levels, male friends, female friends, and the coaching world for me, I see it as becoming more transactional, and I don't like that. That's not my. I want to be a relational coach. Don't get me wrong. I want to win. I want to. I work for a great athletic director now, and I work for a great school now, and I want to do everything I can to make our volleyball team great. But I also feel it's more than just volleyball, and I tell players that, I get 4 or 5 years with you, and those are very important years, but they're not as important as the next 40 or 50. And so those relationships are important to me, and I think that's kind of the bedrock, the foundation for the culture I'm trying to build here. And hey, I want to know 5 years from now, what's going on, or, hey, coach, my nickname is Fatchmo, and I want people to say, hey, Coach Fatch, I just want to let you know I'm getting married. I mean, I coached a girl, a Brazilian girl, 15 years ago, Joey, and I probably hear from her once a month. And that is fantastic for me to have that experience, is to still be able to, hey, coach, I need you for a reference. And would you be a reference for me? I'll be glad to be a reference for you. So those things are important to me. That's and I'm going to stick with it. I'm not going to be a transactional coach. I mean, we all coaches have situations that come up with student athletes, and sometimes there are consequences for their actions, and sometimes there's not. But boy, that relational part of it is really important to me, and that's going to be the foundation of our program. I've already had a couple of and their families, players and their families from my Charleston Southern days come down here and visit us. Then I got a call from a really good player I had that ended up transferring out of there after I left. But she called me the other day. She goes, Fatchmo, I just moved into Tampa, so they're an hour up the road. We're going to get together next week.
Absolutely. I love that. And I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. It is about the relationship. And those are things that go on long beyond the days of being on the court, the field, the diamond, the pitch, whatever you want to talk about, that's going to be there, and it will go on, and I believe even into eternity as well.
Yes.
Coaches, as we wrap up this preview, and the further we go into this, we may have to do a preview part 2, because you'll know a lot more about your team later on. Yes. But I definitely wanted to get to visit with you today. It's a Sun Conference schedule, and it should be fun. I know you don't know much more about the schedule than that right there, but you know there are a few games that are already on the docket. Tell us a little bit about what you know of 2025.
Well, we've got, like I say, I'm working with a core group of 8 people right now. I've made we have a girl named Belize Sahin from Turkey. And when I got here, she was sitting on the outside. We've moved her to the right side. We have a steady setter, and Rafaela Dominguez from Brazil. We have a girl that I initially thought I would put her on the right side. She played a little bit of right side last year. Her name is, what's Abigail's last name? Abigail Willis. And she is, I've moved her back to the middle, and I've got her running some different routes and stuff that she's accustomed to. The coolest thing so far, Joey, for me in just 5 or 6 practices is the effort of the players. And man, any coach loves great effort. And so we're at a place right now where we're really applauding their effort. and we'll get into the details later. But man, heart and soul is what we're looking for right now. And we go into practices. Every practice, we want to empty the tank, and so they're giving us all they got right now, and we're really enjoying it.
Coach, it sounds like fun. And I appreciate your perspective on all of this. And I definitely want to get to visit with you about this a little bit more. But
Sure.
Congratulations for right now. Congratulations on the job, the opportunity, and all that God's put before you in what you're doing in Sarasota. Coach David McFatrich, the new head coach for New College of Florida, the Mighty Banyans. You have to love that mascot. My goodness. And if you haven't noticed, that's what's behind him right there on the wall too. So it'll be fun. And I want to get to visit with you more. In the meantime, thank you very much, sir, for taking time with us today here on the Summit.
Thank you, Joey, so much for having me, and look forward to the next one.